The city lights flickered that night, glowing faintly against the black sky. Nathan sat by his window, staring at the silent streets below. The world had changed so much since the contact war. Humans had won, or at least that's what the government said. The truth was buried, like everything else about the aliens. Nathan wasn't a soldier or a hero. He was just a university student, barely surviving his rent. When the government launched the cultural exchange program, pairing humans with alien refugees, he thought it was a joke. Living with a real alien? That sounded like a bad movie. But rent was free for participants, and free rent meant survival. So, he signed up. The next day, his life turned upside down. The doorbell rang early in the morning. Nathan opened it, half asleep, expecting a government officer. Instead, a small figure stood in front of him. A girl, with long, fiery orange hair that shimmered in the sunlight, soft fur-covered ears poking through her hair, and eyes like molten gold. She smiled nervously. "Hello, I am your assigned roommate," Nathan blinked. "You're my what?" She tilted her head, her fox ears twitching. "Roommate, from the Varelli system." The program said, "Humans and aliens must learn to coexist." Her voice was calm, melodic. But what shocked Nathan more wasn't her ears. It was the tail behind her, swaying gently, covered in bright orange fur. For a full minute, neither of them spoke. Nathan's brain couldn't decide whether to panic or laugh. Finally, he muttered, "You've got to be kidding me." She frowned slightly. "Do you not want this arrangement?" He sighed. "No, it's just, I thought my alien roommate would look, more alien." She blinked, confused. "Do humans always say strange things?" Nathan quickly stepped aside. "No, I mean, just come in." The girl entered, looking around the tiny apartment curiously. Her ears flicked toward every small sound, the hum of the refrigerator, the ticking clock. She sniffed the air softly. "It smells human." "That's because it is," Nathan replied, shutting the door. Then he turned around and froze. She had taken off her jacket. "And then her shirt. What are you doing?" he yelled. She looked at him with innocent confusion. "Your planet is warm. Our kind does not wear coverings indoors." Nathan's heart almost stopped. That's not how it works here. Humans wear clothes inside." She tilted her head again. "Why, is your skin weak?" He groaned, grabbing a blanket and tossing it over her shoulders. "Because it's polite." She looked down at the blanket, puzzled. "Strange customs," she murmured. Nathan muttered under his breath. "This is going to be a long program." As the day went on, Nathan tried explaining human habits like wearing clothes, knocking on doors, and not sitting 3 inches away from someone when talking. The fox girl listened, nodding seriously, but within an hour she broke every single rule. That night, Nathan couldn't sleep. Every sound made him jump. He could hear her soft footsteps padding across the floor, her tail brushing against the furniture. It was like living with a cat and a person at the same time. Then suddenly, there was a loud crash. Nathan jumped out of bed and ran to the living room. The fox girl stood near the window, her tail bristled. The air smelled strange, like burnt ozone. "What happened?" he asked, breathless. Her eyes glowed faintly. "They found me." "Who?" She turned toward him slowly, her voice trembling. "The ones who started the war." Before Nathan could ask another question, the window exploded inward with a flash of blue light. Nathan ducked as shards of glass flew past him. Outside, shapes moved in the shadows, metallic, glowing faintly with alien energy. The fox girl's ears flattened. She grabbed his wrist. "You must hide." "What are those things?" he shouted. "Hunters," she whispered. "They came for me." Nathan's world spun. Just hours ago, he was worrying about rent and exams. Now alien hunters were attacking his apartment. He stared at her glowing eyes, her trembling hands, and the fear that didn't look human. She pushed him toward the hallway. "Go," but Nathan didn't move. Something deep inside him, a human instinct or maybe something else, told him that running wouldn't help. If those creatures wanted her, they wouldn't stop at one apartment. He looked at her, breathing hard. "I'm not leaving you." Her eyes widened in shock. "You would stay?" He nodded. "You're my roommate, remember?" For a second, she just stared at him, as if she didn't understand humans at all. Then she smiled faintly, something soft breaking through her fear. The light outside grew brighter. The walls trembled. The war he thought was over had just found his doorstep. Nathan clenched his fists. "All right, fox girl. Let's see what you're hiding." The room filled with light. and the sound of something ancient waking up. Nathan stood frozen as blue light flashed outside the shattered window. The room smelled like burnt metal and smoke. He could hear strange clicking sounds, mechanical, sharp, and close. His new roommate, the fox girl, crouched low, her golden eyes glowing brighter. "Stay behind me," she whispered. Nathan wanted to argue, but the way her tail stood up, alert and tense, made him stay silent. He could sense she wasn't just a frightened refugee. There was something wild, something powerful beneath her calm voice. The glass crunched under her bare feet as she stepped closer to the window. Outside, dark figures moved, tall, thin, and glowing faintly with blue veins of light. They didn't look human. Their eyes were dead like machines. Nathan swallowed. "Are those aliens?" She nodded slowly. "Hunters, made to find and erase my kind. They smell our fear." He couldn't believe what he was hearing. "Erase, you mean kill?" Her voice was low. "They were created for that purpose during the war." Nathan's heart raced. "Then why are they here?" "I thought the war ended." The fox girl didn't answer. She touched the broken window frame and whispered in a language Nathan didn't understand. A faint golden light shimmered over the cracks. For a moment he forgot about the danger. The way her hands glowed looked almost sacred. Then something outside screamed a horrible metallic sound, and the window cracked again. The light vanished. "They're coming in," she said sharply. "We must move." She grabbed his hand, pulling him toward the back of the apartment. Her grip was firm but gentle, her fingers warm. They ran through the narrow hallway until they reached the storage room. Nathan's mind spun. This morning he was worried about breakfast. Now he was running from alien killers with a fox girl who didn't believe in clothes. They stopped. She pressed her ear against the wall, listening. Her tail flicked. "They are scanning. We have a few seconds." Nathan looked around.
"Can't we call someone?"
"The police or—" "No," she cut him off. "If humans get involved, they will die too. The hunters do not leave witnesses." He took a shaky breath. "Then what do we do?" Her golden eyes met his. "You hide." "I fight," Nathan blinked. "What? No. You can't fight those things alone." She smiled faintly. "I am not alone. You are here." Before he could reply, the wall exploded. A blue beam cut through the air, scorching the floor. One of the hunters stepped in, tall, silver-skinned, with long, spidery limbs. Its eyes glowed cold and bright. It aimed its weapon. The fox girl moved faster than Nathan could see. Her body blurred, tail flashing like fire. She leaped high, claws out, and struck the creature's chest. Sparks flew. The hunter crashed into the wall with a metallic roar. Nathan stared, stunned. She wasn't just fast, she was something else entirely. Her movements were fluid, animal-like, almost too graceful to be real. Another beam fired. Nathan ducked, covering his head. The fox girl twisted midair, landing in front of him. Her hand shot out glowing gold, and the beam bent away, hitting the ceiling instead. "Go," she shouted. Nathan crawled toward the kitchen, heart hammering. He grabbed the only thing he could find, a metal pan. It felt ridiculous, but it was all he had. When he turned back, she was standing over the fallen hunter, breathing hard, her eyes fierce and wild. The creature sparked and hissed before going still. Then two more appeared in the doorway. The fox girl growled, a low, deep sound that didn't belong to a human throat. Her tail flared with golden light. She whispered again in that strange alien language. The floor beneath them glowed with runes, circles and symbols Nathan didn't recognize. The air pulsed. A golden wave exploded outward, slamming into the hunters. They flew backward, crashing through the wall into the night. The glow faded. She fell to one knee, gasping. Nathan ran to her. "Hey, are you okay?" She nodded weakly. "It's fine. My instincts took over." "Instincts?" he asked, helping her stand. She looked up at him, her eyes softer now. "Every Varelli has them, a power inside our blood, but using it burns energy fast." Nathan shook his head in disbelief. "You just took down 3 metal monsters with magic, and you're telling me it's normal?" She smiled faintly. "For us, yes. For humans, maybe not." Nathan couldn't help but laugh nervously. "You're insane." "Maybe," she said. "But I am alive. And so are you." The sirens of human security drones echoed in the distance. Blue lights flashed across nearby buildings. The fox girl turned toward the window, her expression dark. "They will come again," she whispered. "The hunters never stop." Nathan rubbed his forehead. "Then we need a plan," she nodded. "You humans love plans." I will follow yours. He stared at her glowing eyes, still half lit by the golden runes fading on the floor. He didn't know how to plan for alien assassins, but he knew one thing: he couldn't abandon her now. All right, he said quietly. First step, we survive the night. Outside, the wind howled through the broken glass. Somewhere beyond the city skyline, the war that was supposed to be over had begun again, and this time Nathan was part of it. Nathan woke up to the smell of something burning. For a second, his tired brain thought the hunters had returned, but then he saw smoke rising from the kitchen and heard the soft humming of his Foxgirl roommate. He jumped up and ran out of the bedroom. "What are you doing?" She turned around, holding a frying pan upside down. The food inside looked like a dark lump of something that had once been edible. "I am making breakfast," she said proudly. Nathan stared at the pan. "You burned eggs." "How do you even burn eggs?" She blinked. "I followed your cooking video. It said high heat. I assumed high meant fire." He sighed and rubbed his eyes. "You almost burned down the apartment." She tilted her head, tail swaying slowly. "I do not understand your fear. On my world, we cook with plasma stones." Nathan raised an eyebrow. "Yeah, well, here we use stoves, and we don't burn the place while doing it." She looked down, ears drooping slightly. "I was only trying to help." His irritation faded. He couldn't stay angry at her, not when she looked like that. "It's okay, just next time let me handle breakfast." She smiled faintly. "Deal." They sat together at the small table, eating toast and instant noodles, Nathan's backup meal. The morning light came through the broken window, now covered with cardboard and tape. It was peaceful, almost normal if he ignored the alien roommate and last night's attack. Nathan looked at her carefully. "You said those hunters came for you. Why?" She didn't answer right away. Her golden eyes flicked toward the window, then back to him. "Because of what I am." He leaned forward. "And what is that exactly?" She hesitated. "During the war, the Varelli fought beside humans, but not all of us agreed with peace. Some wanted power. They created something dangerous." What kind of dangerous?" Her voice dropped to a whisper. "A weapon. One that needed a living core." Nathan frowned. "You mean like a bomb?" "No," she said softly. "Like me." He froze. "You're saying you're the weapon?" She nodded slowly. "The Varelli designed me to end the war. But before I could be used, I escaped. I didn't want to kill. I wanted peace." Nathan stared at her, trying to process that. She looked so human, so gentle. It was hard to believe she was built to destroy. "And now they're hunting you because you ran?" "Yes, the hunters were made to track me. They can sense the energy inside me. When I use my instincts, I expose my location." He leaned back, exhaling. "That explains last night, the glow. The power." She nodded again, looking down. "Every time I use it, I risk bringing them here." For a while, neither of them spoke. The only sound was the quiet hum of the city outside. Nathan felt a mix of fear and sympathy. She was dangerous, but also scared. Finally, he said, "You saved my life. That counts for something." She looked up, her golden eyes meeting his. "You didn't run away. That counts too." They both smiled faintly. After breakfast, Nathan cleaned up while she explored the living room. She poked at the television, the lamp, and even the toaster. "Humans have so many strange tools," she said. "Do you really need all this?" Nathan shrugged. "Maybe not, but it makes life easier." She tilted her head. "Easy does not always mean better." He laughed. "You sound like my philosophy teacher." She smiled softly. Perhaps he is wise. The quiet moment was interrupted by a soft beeping sound. Nathan turned to see her wrist glowing faintly. A small holographic symbol appeared above her skin, a circle with shifting lines inside. Her eyes widened. "No, what's wrong?" Nathan asked quickly. "They're scanning again." "The hunters are close." Nathan's stomach dropped. "Here, now?" She nodded, already moving toward the door. "They must not find us. We have to leave the city." He grabbed his backpack. "Wait, leave? As in run?" "Yes," she said firmly. "If they find me, they will not stop until everything is destroyed." Nathan hesitated. "Where will we even go?" She looked out the window toward the horizon where the sun was rising. "Somewhere quiet. Somewhere far from machines." He nodded slowly. "Okay, then we go together." Her eyes softened. "You would risk your world for me?" He smirked. "I already lost my normal life. Might as well finish the mission." She didn't understand his humor, but she smiled anyway. They packed quickly, food, water, a few clothes. As they prepared to leave, Nathan noticed her touching the burned frying pan. "Why are you taking that?" he asked. She looked at him seriously. "It is my first cooking attempt on Earth. It reminds me I still have much to learn." He laughed. "You're something else." Before leaving, she placed her hand on the door. Golden light shimmered briefly, some kind of alien seal. "This will hide our scent for a few hours." Nathan stared in amazement. "You can do that too?" She smiled. "I told you I was made for more than war." They stepped out into the morning light. The streets were quiet, but Nathan could feel the tension in the air. Somewhere out there, machines were searching and time was running out. He glanced at her as they walked. She looked calm, but her tail twitched nervously. "Hey," he said softly. "What's your name, anyway? I can't keep calling you Fox Girl." She hesitated, then said, "Lyara." "Lyara," he repeated. "Nice to meet you, officially," she smiled. "And you, Nathan." As they disappeared into the city streets, Nathan couldn't shake the feeling that he'd stepped into something far bigger than himself. The war wasn't over. It had simply changed shape. And now, the fate of one human and one alien fox girl might decide what happened next. The city was quiet when Nathan and Lyara slipped through the empty streets. Morning sunlight painted long shadows on the cracked roads. The air smelled like dust and burnt fuel. Nathan's backpack bounced against his shoulder as they hurried toward the outer district. Lyara's tail swayed behind her, brushing lightly against her coat. She wore a hood now, hiding her fox ears. Even so, her golden eyes still caught the light whenever she looked up. Nathan glanced around nervously. "You sure no one's following us?" Her ears twitched under the hood. "Not yet. But I can hear the drones. They're searching." He couldn't hear anything except his own heartbeat. "You can really hear them?" She nodded. "Our kind scents sound through the air and the ground. The hunters are above. They always come from the sky." Nathan swallowed hard. "Then we should move faster." They passed rows of abandoned buildings, old shops, cracked signs, and empty cars. Humanity had never fully recovered after the war. Technology rebuilt the cities, but fear never left the people. Every shadow felt alive. Lyara suddenly stopped. Her hand lifted, tail stilling. "Quiet," Nathan froze. "What is it?" She closed her eyes. The air vibrated faintly like a low hum. A scanner wave. "The hunters are near." Before he could respond, a sharp sound cut through the air, a piercing shriek followed by a blue flash from the sky. A drone dropped from the clouds, spinning like a hawk made of light. "Run!" she shouted. They dashed through the narrow alley. The drone fired a beam that melted the ground behind them. Nathan felt the heat brush his back. He dove behind a dumpster, panting. Lyara crouched beside him, eyes glowing. "Can you stop it like last time?" he asked breathlessly. She shook her head. "That was instinct energy. I can't use it again so soon," he peeked out. The drone hovered above, scanning. A voice echoed from its speaker. "Target signature detected." "Farley energy confirmed," Nathan cursed under his breath. "They found us." Lyara grabbed his hand. "Follow me." They sprinted again, cutting through a broken fence and into a railway yard. Rusted train cars stood silent, covered in graffiti. Lyara stopped near one and pressed her palm against the metal. Golden light spread across the side, melting a small hole big enough for them to crawl through. Nathan climbed inside, coughing at the dust. "Where did you learn that trick?" "It's an old defense code from my world," she said softly. "Not many remember it." Outside, the drone hovered, scanning again. Then it flew off, its light fading into the clouds. Nathan let out a long breath. That was close. Lyara sat beside him, tail wrapping around her knees. "It will come back. They never stop." He leaned against the wall, exhausted. "You keep saying that. Why you? Why not the others from your world?" She looked down. "Because the others are gone." Nathan's breath caught. "Gone, you mean?" "Destroyed," she said quietly. "After I escaped, they erased everyone connected to the project. I am the last of my kind who carries the core." The words hit him like a punch. She wasn't just an alien refugee. She was the last living weapon of her species. Nathan's voice softened. "You didn't deserve that." Lyara looked at him, her golden eyes reflecting the dim light. "You humans. You fight for things you love. My people fought because we were told to. I envied your kind for that." He smiled sadly. You might be the first alien to call humans lucky. Her ears twitched slightly under the hood. Maybe. But now I understand why you survived the war. Before Nathan could reply, the train car shook. A heavy thud echoed from above. Lyara's head snapped upward. They found us again, she whispered. The roof tore open with a metallic scream. A hunter dropped through the hole, its body shining like chrome, its face blank except for two glowing eyes. Nathan stumbled back. Not again. Lyara stood in front of him, her hand glowing faintly. Stay behind me. The hunter raised its weapon. Blue light gathered at the tip. Nathan grabbed a metal rod from the floor and threw it with all his strength. It hit the hunter's chest, making it stumble just long enough for Lyara to act. She leapt forward, claws flashing, and struck its neck. Sparks flew. The machine hissed, then fell still, but Lyara didn't stop. She stood trembling, her claws still glowing gold. Nathan reached out. Hey, it's done. You got it. Her breathing was fast, almost wild, her tail fluffed out, her ears twitching. Then slowly she calmed down and looked at him. I almost lost control. He helped her sit down. You did fine. You saved us again. She shook her head. No, you don't understand. When I fight too long, the weapon part of me awakens. If it does, I might not stop. Nathan froze. You mean you could lose control completely? She nodded weakly. That is why I ran. Not just from them, but from myself. He looked at her quietly. The fear in her voice didn't sound like a soldier's, it sounded human. Nathan sighed. Then we'll find a way to stop that from happening. Together. Lyara looked up at him, surprise in her eyes. You still trust me? Even after what I told you? He smiled faintly. You're my roommate, remember? A very strange, dangerous, half-naked roommate, but still mine. She blinked, confused. Half-naked? He chuckled. Never mind. Her tail flicked once, amused. You are strange, Nathan. I get that a lot. Outside, the sky darkened as more drones passed overhead. The war that had ended years ago was waking again, one hunter at a time. Nathan glanced at Lyara, who sat beside him, her ears lowering as she whispered something in her alien tongue. He didn't understand the words, but her tone was heavy, like a prayer. And as the night settled over the ruined train yard, Nathan realized something terrifying. The war wasn't just between species anymore. It was between control and chaos, between who Lyara was and what she had been made to be. And somehow he was now the only human who could stop it. The morning came quietly. A pale orange light spilled through the cracks of the broken train car. Nathan opened his eyes slowly, his back aching from sleeping on the hard floor. For a moment he forgot where he was. Then he saw Lyara sitting nearby, her golden tail curled around her knees, eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. She hadn't slept. Nathan sat up, rubbing his neck. You've been awake all night? She nodded slightly. I can't rest. Every time I close my eyes, I feel them searching. He looked at her tired face. You mean the hunters? Yes, she said quietly. They are not only machines, they are connected to me. Through the core, Nathan frowned. You keep saying that. What exactly is the core? She hesitated, glancing at him before answering. It is what makes me alive, and what makes me dangerous. He didn't interrupt. He could tell this was hard for her to explain. She looked down at her hands. The core was made from Varelli energy mixed with human DNA, a bridge between two races. My creators believed that if one being carried both, peace would come. Nathan's eyes widened. Wait, you're part human? Her ears twitched softly. Yes. My body was designed from human cells, my spirit from Varelli essence. I am both, and neither. He sat in silence for a long moment. The revelation hit him like a wave. It explained everything, the way she spoke, the way she laughed at human jokes she barely understood, the warmth in her voice that didn't sound alien at all. So, he said slowly, you were made to end the war, not to fight it. She nodded. That was the hope. But the generals saw another purpose. They wanted to use the core to destroy your armies. When I learned that, I ran away. Nathan looked at her with quiet respect. You didn't want to kill anyone. Her voice broke slightly. I was never meant to be human or alien. I was just meant to obey. But when I met humans, real humans, I realized you're not what they told us. You're not monsters, you're broken and brave and kind. He smiled faintly. We're also bad cooks and terrible at rent. Lyara tilted her head, confused, but then smiled. Yes, that too. For a brief moment the tension faded. The morning light made the dusk glow in the air, and it almost felt peaceful again. But the quiet didn't last. A low vibration rolled through the ground. Lyara's ears shot up instantly. They found us again. Nathan stood, heart pounding. Already? How? The core, she said quickly. It's unstable. They can trace it when I lose focus. Before Nathan could reply, the walls of the train yard began to tremble. Outside, a large shadow covered the sun. A massive hunter craft descended from the sky, dark and sharp like a floating fortress. Nathan stared in shock. That's huge. Lyara grabbed his hand. We can't fight that. We have to reach open ground. They ran between the rusted train cars as the craft fired beams into the yard. Metal exploded around them, scattering sparks. Nathan covered his head, coughing from the smoke. Lyara, he shouted. We're trapped. She turned, her eyes glowing bright gold. No, we're not. She raised her hands and the air shimmered. Golden energy spiraled around her, forming a barrier. The next blast hit it and scattered into light. Nathan watched in awe. You're doing it again, she gritted her teeth. It's the core. It reacts to danger. But I can't hold it long. The air crackled. Her hair lifted, glowing like fire. Her tail flashed gold. The ground shook beneath her feet. Nathan stepped closer, shouting over the noise. Then stop before it kills you. She turned to him, pain in her voice. If I stop, we both die. The hunter craft adjusted its aim. More beams rained down. Lyara screamed, pushing her power outward. The golden barrier expanded, wrapping around both of them like a cocoon. Then, silence. When Nathan opened his eyes, everything was still. The craft hovered above, its weapons silent. The world shimmered faintly as if covered in a golden haze. What happened? He whispered. Lyara fell to her knees, trembling. I froze time, but only for a moment. Nathan's mouth fell open. You can do that? She smiled weakly. Not really. I only stopped the flow around us. The core reacts to emotion. When I feel fear or anger, it grows stronger. But if I lose control... She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't have to. Nathan crouched beside her. You're not a weapon anymore, Lyara. You're a person. You get to decide who you are. Her eyes filled with tears. No one ever said that to me before. He smiled gently. Then maybe it's time someone did. The light around them began to fade. The sound of engines returned. The frozen hunter craft started moving again. Lyara looked up, exhausted. I can't hold it any longer. Nathan helped her stand. Then we run. Now. They darted across the open yard toward a storm drain at the edge of the field. The barrier collapsed behind them just as the next blast hit. The explosion shook the ground, throwing Nathan forward. He hit the concrete hard, the world spinning around him. Lyara, he shouted. She crawled to him, coughing. Her hood had fallen off, revealing her glowing eyes and ears. I'm here. Nathan grabbed her hand, pulling her close. We can't keep doing this. There has to be a way to stop them. There is, she said faintly, but it means destroying the core. He frowned. And what happens if you destroy it? She looked down. Then I die. The words hung in the air like ice. Nathan stared at her, unable to speak. The girl who had crashed into his life, the one who burned eggs, who smiled at the stars, who risked everything to protect him, was ready to sacrifice herself. No, he said quietly. We'll find another way. Lyara touched his cheek softly, her hand warm against his skin. Sometimes the only way to stop a war is to end the weapon that started it. He shook his head. Not this time. Not you, her golden eyes softened. You're too human, Nathan, he smiled sadly. And you're more human than you think. The distant roar of engines grew louder again. The final battle was coming. And this time, Nathan knew. He wouldn't let her face it alone. The sky burned red as the sun sank behind the city ruins. Smoke rose in the distance, painting the clouds in shades of fire and ash. Nathan and Lyara crouched near the edge of an old highway, the sound of engines echoing faintly above. They were tired, hungry, wounded, but still alive. Nathan looked at her, breathing hard. How far until they stop chasing us? Lyara shook her head softly. They won't stop. The core inside me is calling them. As long as I live, they will follow. He frowned. Then we find a way to cut that connection without hurting you. She smiled sadly. You still believe there's always another way? He nodded. Because there has to be. They found shelter inside an abandoned gas station. Dust covered the shelves and the air smelled of rust and oil. Nathan searched the drawers for anything useful while Lyara sat on the floor, holding her side. A faint golden light glowed under her palm where she was injured. "You're hurt," he said, dropping to his knees beside her. She shook her head. "It's just energy drain. My body heals itself slowly. I'll be fine." Nathan didn't believe her. Her face was pale and her tail twitched weakly. He handed her a water bottle. "Drink, please." She took it, sipping quietly. For a while, neither of them spoke. The silence was heavy, filled only with the soft hum of wind outside. Finally, Nathan said, "You said the core can be destroyed." "How?" Lyara's voice was soft. "It must be overloaded. If I pour all my energy into one burst, the core will collapse. But the blast would erase everything around me." Nathan froze. "Erase? You mean kill you?" She looked down. "Yes, and maybe the hunters too. It's the only way to stop them from finding more worlds." He clenched his fists. "No, there has to be another way. We can't just lose you." Lyara smiled faintly. "You are kind, Nathan. Too kind for a soldier's world," he sighed. "I'm not a soldier. I'm just a guy who wanted cheap rent and got a fox girl instead." That made her laugh softly. The sound was weak but warm. "And now you're fighting a war for her." He smiled. "Guess I'm bad at giving up." Suddenly the ground shook. The roof creaked above them. Nathan ran to the window and saw a massive hunter ship descending through the clouds. Its lights burned blue, scanning the ground below. "They've found us," he said quietly. Lyara stood slowly. "Then it's time." He turned to her, fear rising. "No, I'm not letting you do this." Her golden eyes glowed softly in the dim light. "Nathan, if I don't, millions could die. They'll never stop hunting. Not until the core is gone." He grabbed her shoulders. "And what about you?" She smiled sadly. "I was never meant to last. But I was meant to choose. And I choose to protect." Nathan shook his head. "You're not doing this alone." She stepped closer and placed her hand over his heart. "You gave me something my creators never did. A reason to care." "That's enough." Tears burned in his eyes. "Lyara." She leaned forward and kissed his forehead gently. "Thank you, human." Before he could speak, she stepped outside. The wind whipped her hair as the hunter ship descended. Dozens of drones circled above, aiming their weapons. Nathan ran to the doorway. "Lyara!" But she was already glowing. Bright gold, brighter than the sun. Her tail lifted, her ears shimmered, and her voice echoed through the air like a song. "I am not your weapon," she whispered. "I am not your fear. I am light." The core within her ignited. The sky exploded with golden fire. The hunter's beams vanished in the light. The air trembled. Nathan shielded his eyes as a blinding wave of energy swept across the ruins, and then silence. The light faded slowly. The ship above disintegrated into dust. The sky cleared, revealing soft stars peeking through the clouds. Nathan stumbled forward, coughing. "Lyara!" The ground was warm beneath his hands. In the center of the crater, golden dust floated like fireflies. For a moment he thought she was gone, but then he heard a faint whisper, soft and gentle. "Nathan." He looked up. A faint shimmer of light drifted toward him, taking shape. It was her, translucent, glowing softly. "You're alive," he said, voice trembling. "Not alive," she whispered. "Just here. The core is gone, but part of me remains. Enough to say goodbye." Nathan's throat tightened. "You can't just disappear." "You saved everyone," she smiled. "And you saved me first," he shook his head. "That's not fair." Her light flickered gently. "Tell your people we are not their enemies. Tell them peace is possible. Promise me." "I promise," he said, tears falling freely. She reached out, her glowing hand touching his cheek. It felt warm, real. "Goodbye, Nathan." The light faded slowly, scattering into the night sky like golden sparks. Nathan stood there for a long time, watching the last trace of her disappear. The world was quiet again. The hunters were gone. The war was over. He looked up at the stars, whispering, "Goodbye, Lyara." A single golden streak crossed the sky, like a falling star. He smiled faintly. "Guess you're still watching." Nathan walked down the broken road as dawn painted the horizon. The world had lost a weapon, but gained something far greater, a memory, a promise, and the hope that maybe one day humans and aliens could truly share the same sky.